So we've already seen the back door, a hidden basement filled with eerie corridors, tight spaces, and boxes and unique mechanics, but what type of things should we expect in the new garden subfloor? I'm really excited for it to drop, and honestly, I'm only really hyped because since it's a garden, I have high hopes it's gonna actually take place outside, because that's literally one of the most least explored parts of the game, you know, the outside. I always wish that there was more of that courtyard setting in the game where everything looks calm and peaceful, and I'm glad that we're getting to explore possibly more of that setting, but you know, not calm and relaxing, since we're gonna be encountering more entities related to the subfloor. And if we go off of what was included in the back door, we should have a handful of entities to expect for this subfloor. First, let's start off with what we know. Thanks to Cheddar Balls and him finding this image of a snare-like thing on the ground, which he only found because he somehow realized that L/'s Twitter profile got changed to be of higher quality, downloaded the profile picture, and then found that the part of the actual subfloor was surrounding his profile picture, in which he then made the video. We now know that this is something that we'll encounter in the garden. I don't know what its function could possibly be. At first, I thought it could be something like a snare, but I feel like it's way too obvious to even be missed when looking at the ground, so my assumption on what this might be is if you walk too close to it, the plant in the middle reveals itself as like a long vine, similar to the one found in Jeff's shop in the mines, and it grabs your ankle and potentially damages you, but because it's just a vine, it might just wrap around your leg and stun you. But besides that one thing we know, what about everything else? Well, we know that the back door had the levers every so often to extend the limited amount of time that we had to complete the floor. I don't think that the garden will be timed, but it's likely that the subfloor will have some sort of unique gimmick. I'd assume it'd be some sort of simple low-hanging fog that limits visibility, which obviously wouldn't be anything too crazy, though again, this is pure speculation, so don't take anything as fact, but do know that it should have some sort of gimmick. We already know how to enter the subfloor, with that being through the double doors in the greenhouse at the hotel, but we'll need shears to be able to cut the vines of the doors in order to open it, making the shears in the courtyard actually useful in the hotel. Because this is a subfloor, we can assume that Curious Light will be present with insights on how to avoid each monster. We can expect 3 to 4 unique entities specific to the subfloor based on what we got for the back door, with one of them being the vine snare. Now, because the garden and the hotel are literally pretty much on the same floor, I have a sneaking suspicion that Guiding Light and Curious Light might actually have interactions with each other and appearing in the same space. So it's either only Guiding Light in the garden, only Curious Light in the garden, or both. I will say that possibly seeing both exist in the same space could be really cool to witness, because it's just something that we've never really seen before. I'd also be really surprised to see any additional node monsters similar to things like Rush, Blitz, or Ambush. Instead, I think we should expect entities that are, you know, actually three-dimensional, maybe a sort of Weeping Angel type entity, or a humanoid figure covered in vines waking up only when you get close to it, though there may be node entities, I don't really know. Now, in the back door, there aren't really any puzzles, but I feel like in the garden there might be, just because how far it is into the hotel, and if there is a puzzle in there, I feel like it'd be a little bit more difficult to complete rather than the library puzzle. And I say that because, you know, the subfloor is an optional path. You don't have to go to the subfloor if you don't want to. Then again, people did have a crazy reaction to the second floor being insanely difficult as it was on release, so if they do have any puzzle elements, it might be easier, or have some sort of middle ground where it's not easy but not insanely difficult. Also, naturally, we should expect tons of opportunities to use the shears to access loot in other areas, because, you know, it's the garden, so there's bound to be vines literally everywhere. I'd honestly be surprised if that wasn't the case and there was actually almost no use of the shears. Now, in the back door, we got introduced to all of the starlight potions, like the vial, the bottle, and technically the barrel, even though that can only be accessed with the A1000 room. But anyways, my point is that the infirmary has the herb of viridis, which, fun fact, that is a Latin adjective for green. But it could be possible that the garden might introduce different herbs that give you different effects. We know that the herb of viridis gives you passive health regeneration on room progression, but there might be other types of herbs that give you different effects, like speed boost or possibly damage reduction. But the last thing I want to talk about is any possible lore implications that might be revealed in the garden subfloor. And obviously, as you explore through the hotel and the mines, the constant reappearance of the vines or any natural growth is very consistent in level exploration, and I don't think that these vines are there just naturally. I think something is actually putting them there, and I say that because of the light post that the vine has a grip of in the Jeff shop in the mines. It looks very intentional, you know, deliberate, so it's possible that there is a underlying thing that is controlling the natural plant life throughout your exploration of the hotel and the mines, and we might get to see what's doing that in the subfloor if that's actually what's going on. But with all that being said, that's going to be it for what I think we should expect from the garden subfloor. And if you guys did like the video, be sure to like and subscribe, but only if you did enjoy. And with that, I will catch y'all whenever I decide to upload again.